What's up everyone, Alex here. Welcome to the 3rd Annual Backlog Battle Awards, or BBAs for short. The BBAs are a celebration of the past year in gaming, represented both by your votes and my personal choices based off of a pool of nominations that you yourself created. And this year, I'm proud to announce that this is our largest ever. More than 1,000 people nominated and voted for their favorite games this year. And yet despite that, we have some of the closest contests we've ever had in awards history. This showcases the diverse gaming interests of our community, and I'm proud to say that the BBAs will get to represent that once more. I also want to say that no matter who wins today, we all won, because 2022 was a fantastic year in video games. And just for you, I prepared a special video package to celebrate all of the great games that came out this year. So I hope you're looking forward to that one. Let's kick things off with our first guest. His name? SuperDerek. Let's check out what he's been playing and what his game of the year actually is. Take it away, SuperDerek.
2022 has been a wild ride for us RPG fans. It started off like a fire hose of RPGs that just never stopped. Trying to play them all was like trying to catch raindrops in a storm, and despite doing a poor job of it, I still had a good time just trying anyway. But in typical fashion, I'm still working on several games that I can't yet personally name as my own game of the year, because I just haven't finished them yet. But some of those games include Shin Megami Tensei, Soul Hackers 2, and Star Ocean: The Divine Force, both of which are calling out to me to return to finally finish them because they've had really strong showings so far this year. And as a quick follow-up to my last year's contribution, I did want to mention that Shin Megami Tensei 5 was actually really incredible, and it gets an easy recommend from me. But without further ado, Trails from Zero. It's like an 80s style buddy cop underdog movie mixed with a slice of life anime. In addition to having an addicting semi-tactical battle system, it has an endearing and unforgettable cast, and this year's official release of Trails from Zero has to be mentioned as a huge highlight of the year. Nipponichi Software of America, working with the Geofront fan translation team as well as Durante, has paid off beautifully. This enhanced port took the already insanely beautifully well-polished fan translation and its new feature set to even greater heights, in addition to taking it on the road thanks to it coming out on Nintendo Switch as well as PlayStation 4 and PC. If you've been sleeping on the Trails series, Zero is a great place to start, made even more accessible now that you can officially play it on the Nintendo Switch and all these other platforms, which is why Trails from Zero gets my personal Game of the Year.
Thanks, Derek. You can find Derek on his channel at youtube.com/SuperDerek. The first award we'll be handing out tonight is for the most unforgettable character. The nominees are Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Uni from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Aloy from Horizon Forbidden West, Kratos from God of War Ragnarok, Mizuki Date from The Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, and Ringo from Soul Hackers 2. And the community winner for most unforgettable character is a tie, Kratos from God of War Ragnarok, and Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. J-Man had this to say about Kratos. I feel as though Kratos is an inspiring choice and goes to show that any character, no matter the importance to the plot, can evolve and change into a truly remarkable and unforgettable character. Jade had this to say for Mio. Mio was such a strong character who never gave up no matter what. Her desire to change the world for everyone, even if it meant sacrificing the things that she wants and loves, was admirable and some of the best parts of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. And my winner for most unforgettable character is Mio from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Mio is definitely one of the most unforgettable characters in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Mio embodies the heart and soul of the cast, and because of the circumstances surrounding her character, every moment that we spend with her is always important. Next, we have Best Performance. The nominees are Christopher Judge for Kratos, God of War Ragnarok. Amy Fionn Edwards for Mio, Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Ashley Birch for Aloy, Horizon Forbidden West. Harry McIntyre as Noah for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Charlotte McBurney for Amicia, A Plague Tale Requiem. And Megan Taylor Harvey for Ringo, Soul Hackers 2. And the community winner for Best Performance is Christopher Judge for Kratos, God of War Ragnarok. Ryan has this to say for his pick of Christopher Judge. The calm aggression Christopher has given Kratos' voice continues to breathe unimaginable life to an iconic character that, in part thanks to him, the gaming world will surely never forget. And my winner for Best Performance is Harry McIntyre as Noah from Xenoblade Chronicles 3. He really embodied the character of Noah really well. And for the sake of spoilers, I can't really elaborate past that, because I think everybody needs to experience Harry's performance in Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The range in which he demonstrates his acting capabilities, and that powerful emotional scream is something that still haunts me to this day. It is such a gripping performance that really truly helped elevate the entire storytelling experience of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Some of you might not know this, but I used to stream on Twitch a whole bunch before I was on YouTube. And I remember meeting this wonderful lady who I basically helped get hooked on a whole bunch of jrpgs. And ever since then, she's been a part of the BBAs ever since the very beginning. Please help me welcome bunnytails.
Hello everyone, I'm bunnytails, and I'm super excited to be here once again to talk to you guys about one of my favorite things in the world, video games. And please excuse the attire, I'm doing multiple projects today, okay? I'm having a very busy day. So I played a lot of more recent games this year, but a few standout ones actually came out originally in the 90s, and those are the ones I'm bringing you guys today. If you guys played the newly released Soul Hackers 2, you might be curious about its 1997 predecessor, Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. And while unfortunately it's not available on any modern platforms currently, I would definitely recommend you play it if you can. You play as member of a Amami City-based hacker group called the Spookies, who finds himself invited to the highly coveted beta of a virtual 3D world called Paradigm X. Residents of Amami City start to mysteriously go into a vegetative state, and what do they have in common? They were logged into Paradigm X. Around the same time, our protagonist acquires the ability to summon demons and meets a strange entity with amnesia called Nemissa. Also very important to note, Nemissa is the best waifu, and I will not hear any arguments otherwise. End of discussion. Moving on. If you're familiar with the Shin Megami Tensei or Persona series, you will feel right at home here. We have dungeon crawling, demon recruiting, demon fusion, and an intense turn-based combat. There were also some mechanics in Soul Hackers that were brand new to me personally. For example, demons you recruit may or may not listen to your commands in battle based on how well they like you. There are 5 personality types of demons that have certain tendencies in battle. So, if you have a demon with the wild personality, you can improve their relationship with you by commanding them to use physical attacks. If it's a kind demon, try telling them to use healing magic. Some demons, however, do not like being bossed around, so it's better to allow them to make their own decisions in battle. At least until they like you a little better. Look, I could go on and on about this game. I haven't even started on the amazing cast of characters, the interesting and unique dungeons, the weapon fusions, or the Zoma customization. But I cannot conclude without mentioning the amazing OST composed by someone you may have heard about, Shoji Meguro. It really sets the tone and atmosphere for the dark and gritty Amami City and the unknown looming threat that puts everyone at risk. It's one of my favorite soundtracks of this year, seriously. Next up, we have the Live Alive remake for the Nintendo Switch, originally released on the SNES. You may recall that Alex did a review of this game, so check that out if you haven't. This game has so much personality. You start out by choosing one of 7 scenarios, each with a different cast of characters and taking place in a different time period. Each scenario has a completely different playstyle. One takes place in the Wild West, one is a fighting game where you defeat your opponents in the hopes of becoming the champion, while another is more like a sci-fi horror movie borrowing themes from Alien and 2001: A Space Odyssey. The OST is composed by Yoko Shimomura of Street Fighter and Kingdom Hearts fame, so you know it's full of bangers. Fun fact, the boss theme called Megalomania is an inspiration for Toby Fox's Megalovania in Undertale. And lastly, I need to talk to you guys about the game that has haunted me for years, with people telling me, Bunny, you have to play this game. It's a sin that you haven't. Bunny, this is the best Final Fantasy game ever. Bunny, this is one of the best JRPGs in existence. Yes, I finally played Final Fantasy VI, the Pixel Remaster version to be precise. I was afraid people had overhyped it and that I would feel let down after playing it, and boy was I wrong. This game made me laugh, cry, get angry, dance, feel despair, as well as hope. Even with such a large cast of playable characters, nearly every one of them has extensive characterization and growth over the course of the story. Each and every location has a unique personality and feel to it, my absolute least favorite being Zozo. Great people there. And for the grand finale, the final boss fight. Visually stunning, the highest of stakes, the music. Nobuo Uematsu really outdid himself with this one. Hearing Dancing Mad for the first time was a spiritual experience. The fourth phase of the song surprised and delighted me to the max. This is my new favorite Final Fantasy song. Period. If you guys are interested in seeing me laugh and cry my way through Devil Summoner Soul Hackers, Live Alive, or Final Fantasy VI. Sorry. It was just a really good game, and when I play a good game, I cry. Those Let's Plays are available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/bunnytails, or you could visit me live on my Twitch at twitch.tv/bunnytails. Thank you again to Alex and everybody else for having me this year. Bye-bye!
Thanks, Bunnytails. Our next category is Best Cast. The nominees are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Triangle Strategy, The Legend of Heroes: Trails from Zero, God of War Ragnarok, Soul Hackers 2, and I the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. And our joint winner for Best Cast is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Techno had this to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The cast feels so coherent, with them going from being distrustful towards each other to being the bestest of friends. The campsite scenes also help flesh their relationships and their personalities out a bit more so than any other game that I've played. The next category is Best Art Direction. The nominees are Elden Ring, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Triangle Strategy, Horizon Forbidden West, Soul Hackers 2, and Live Alive. And our joint winner for Best Art Direction is Elden Ring. Weep Boop had this to say for Elden Ring. Elden Ring is the ultimate water cooler game, where I'd sit in a voice chat with my friends and family and look off into the distance in my game and say, hey guys, I think I'm gonna go here. I'll let you know how it goes. The awesome thing is that I was actually able to do that. In the lands between, the player will be greeted by luscious forests, massive castles, burgeoning mists, the swamp level, flurried snowstorms, and so much more. And it's all approachable. From the gorgeous splendor of the capital city of Leyndell to the disparaging countrysides of Caelid, the landscapes in Elden Ring are a new form of perfection in the way of world design. FromSoft's elite character/enemy design team comes away again with a phenomenal job, as they've done ever since Demon's Souls. My next guest has been a staple of the JRPG community here on YouTube, and I'm proud to have gotten to know this person over the past few months, especially given that he was reviewing a lot of the games that I was reviewing too, and I just couldn't help but notice that. Please help me welcome David Vinc.
Hi everyone, this is David over at the channel David Vinc, and I did want to take this opportunity to specifically talk about 3 JRPGs that came out this year that are new IPs, and I really do hope that they spawn sequels. I don't want them to just be like another one and done, because they were just fantastic. First up is Triangle Strategy. I'm always on the lookout for a fun, turn-based strategy game, in the same vein as Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics. And that is what we have here. This is a politically driven storyline with adult themes that I can get behind. There's no high school drama, clubs to join, dates to go on, or social links to pore over. Instead, you're embroiled in a war and you hit the ground running with choices that actually matter. Depending on who you choose to support, you're going to be sent off to different regions, recruit different characters, and even get different endings. So thankfully, they've included a new game plus so that multiple playthroughs are painless. Then, also from Square Enix, we have Harvestella, which is their answer to Harvest Moon, Rune Factory, and Stardew Valley. But unlike those games, here the farming and the life sim portions play second fiddle to combat and exploration. Farming is just a means to an end, it's not the end-all be-all. You'll be getting to know the inhabitants of the world, exploring all the varied regions and dungeons, and just basking in the breathtaking glory of the 4 seasonally themed areas. I felt like this was almost a spiritual successor to the Mana series, as I fought together in teams of 3, changed my job classes around, invested in different skills, and just kicked ass. I mean, I went in not expecting much, but I came out with one of the best games of the year. And finally, veering away from consoles as well as Square Enix, we have a gem of an indie game, Crystal Project. This is essentially what would have happened if The Legend of Zelda met 3D Game Heroes met Final Fantasy V. This is a completely open world game where you control 4 warriors of light, then go off exploring the open world, beating bosses, and lighting crystals, which then give you more jobs, just like in Final Fantasy V. The battles are turn-based, and each region is distinctly beautiful and fun to traverse. The exploration is top-notch. Don't think that just because something is indie that it's automatically trash, because I've got to give credit where credit is due, and some of these indies lately are better than what the big boys are putting out. Thank you so much for having me here, Alex. This has just been an absolute blast. And as always, to everybody out there, have a good day.
Thanks, David. You can find David's channel at youtube.com/davidvinc. Next, we have Best Battle Themes. The nominees for Best Battle Themes are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Soul Hackers 2, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, Bayonetta 3, Triangle Strategy, Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. And the community winner for Best Battle Theme is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Micaiah had this to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. While I was initially a little doubtful about the flute being the central piece for battle themes, I should have known better than to doubt Ace and the sound team. These themes can get me pumped up even outside the game itself. And my winner for Best Battle Theme is Fire Emblem Warriors 3 Hopes. Okay, this is a little bit cheating because a lot of 3 Hopes battle themes were just new renditions of the ones in 3 Houses. But it stands to reason that because of that, the battle songs in 3 Hopes are just as exciting. The nominees for Best Soundtrack are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, Elden Ring, Triangle Strategy, Soul Hackers 2, and Bayonetta 3. And the joint winner for Best Soundtrack is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Jacob Howarth had this to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Absolutely stellar soundtrack. The mix of metal and rock with orchestral instruments is unique and pulled off perfectly. I couldn't agree more. Our next guest is the bubbly Miss Bubbles, who now hails us from the UK. I love collaborating with Miss Bubbles on all the videos that she's made, and I'm proud to call her a friend. Here she is, with her favorite games that she's played in 2022.
Hello, you gorgeous human beings. It's Miss Bubbles. Thank you, Alex, so much for including me in this amazing Game Awards show. My first pick is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. This one definitely took me by surprise because I'm not even interested in playing movie-inspired video games. But this action-adventure was fantastic. You're playing as Star-Lord and you're accompanied by your amazing allies trying to save the world. So you're on a story-driven adventure where you can expect to be on your toes with plot twists that hit you left and right. But you're also going to witness amazing character development that will make your heart feel so warm. But this wouldn't be an awesome game without fun gameplay mechanics. So here you are on your ship going from location to location, which all look fantastic, but you're going to level up and get skill points to spend on better abilities for yourself and your allies. So what starts as a somewhat repetitive kind of gameplay will slowly but surely get better if you just give it enough time. I mean, you'll be kicking butt while listening to Never Gonna Give You Up. How cool is that? I feel like I'm definitely one of the people who missed out on this game, so even though it was released in 2021, it was an absolute blast to play it this year. My second pick is going to be Rune Factory 5. Listen, I know the performance on the Switch was not the best, so I'm addressing the elephant in the room right away. But moving away from that, I think the story and gameplay in 5 is amazing and so much better than 4. Once again, you suffer from amnesia and somehow end up in the seed organization where you're in charge of helping the town's villagers. What Rune Factory 5 does excellently, in my opinion, is finding a balance between the traditional farming mechanics, but also introducing a fun combat system. Adding to that, you also have so many skills to excel in. Even things like taking a bath is a skill set that you can get. That is awesome. Rune Factory 5 was definitely a breath of fresh air for me to play in 2022, so if you're looking for that perfect game that gives you fun gameplay mechanics with farming and crafting and cooking and meeting new people, but also combat, then definitely check it out. My final pick, and hear me out before you fast forward through this, is Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Now, I started playing the Assassin's Creed games with Odyssey, and honestly, this franchise has won my heart. Valhalla is a beautiful experience, and I have a deep sense of attachment to that game that is difficult to explain. So you play as Eivor, you can either go with a male or female version, and you're on this Viking journey of conquering land, but you're also witnessing the hardships that people used to experience back in the day. Even though the story might overstay its welcome, if you treat it as a Netflix show, because that's what I did, and just enjoy it for the roller coaster that it is, you're going to meet memorable characters and you're going to enjoy a beautiful plot. Gameplay wise, you're responsible for your settlement, so you need to gather resources to make it better because it will make your character stronger, but you also have plenty of abilities to choose from, which make combat more satisfying. There are plenty of things to do in the world, which Ubisoft gets a lot of hate for. Did you say Ubisoft or Ubisoft? I have no idea, but carrying on, I really enjoy exploring what the world has to offer. There are fun, mysterious stories that you stumble across and different areas to explore for weapons and armor to play around with, and Eivor's story definitely impacted me. It was there for me at the beginning of 2022 as I was going through a lot of hardships, so I feel like that game just helped me conquer my own hardships in real life. If you love RPGs as well as farming and cozy games, then definitely check out my channel. I hope to see you next time.
Thanks, Miss Bubbles. You can find her on YouTube at youtube.com/missbubbles. Our next category is Best Sound Design. The nominees are Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Horizon Forbidden West, Soul Hackers 2, and Triangle Strategy. And the joint winner for Best Sound Design is Elden Ring. I think what's also important about the Best Sound Design category is the lack of sound. And I think Elden Ring embodies that from top to bottom. It has this restraint when it comes to trying to give you sound effects or even a soundtrack. Some areas won't even have soundtracks, and it's just complete dead silence. And this kind of really enhances the suspense and the fear and the fright that is, generally speaking, what was intended of that area. And when you hear things skulking in the background that you can't see, it's a great indication that something bad's about to happen. After all, with well-placed sound effects, you could tell a whole different story altogether. Next, we have Best Battle and Progression Systems. The nominees are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Elden Ring, Triangle Strategy, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, God of War Ragnarok, and Soul Hackers 2. And the community winner for Best Battle and Progression System is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Simon had this to say about Xenoblade Chronicles 3. The combination of leveling, traditional JRPG gear system, and a quartz system synthesized into a very diverse and very fun to break system of tailoring characters' progression however you want. And my winner for Best Battle and Progression System is Triangle Strategy. We've had a lot of tactical RPGs with very complex systems, which actually makes me really appreciate it when a game just does a little bit more than what you'd expect. Triangle Strategy's combat is pretty stock standard tactical RPG, but streamlined to the point where even beginners or even players who don't like the genre could easily just get into. Couple that with a progression system that's very easy to understand, and it's not muddled by a bunch of different systems that can overcomplicate the process, and you got a very focused experience when it comes to its combat and progression, and I highly appreciate that. My next guest is actually a whole bunch of people. These are the hosts of the Thirsty Mage podcast, which I've shown up, once, twice, maybe 3 times already, and they're great people. So please help give me a warm welcome to the hosts of the Thirsty Mage podcast.
Thanks, Alex. Yes, I am David Lloyd, the host of the Thirsty Mage, an RPG podcast where we discuss all sorts of games and themes on the genre. I'm joined by my co-host Jordan Rudick, Casey Gibson, and Paige Chamberlain for this Backlog Battle video where we talk about our favorite games of this year.
Hi everybody, Jordan Rudick from Nintendo World Report and the Thirsty Mage podcast here. Before it came out, as soon as we got the 2022 release date, I already knew what one of, if not the number one game of the year for me was going to be, and that's Elden Ring, as you can see here. It is everything that I wanted it to be and more. Elden Ring is a game that has been on my mind all year, from before I played it, expecting it, hoping it would live up to those expectations. Having that happen and then actually just having the time to go through it 60, 80 hours later, and I never wanted it to end. Elden Ring is just a masterpiece of a video game. So easy to get lost in its world, to feel like you've done so little, but something noticeable, something that feels memorable every single time you boot it up. Discovering a new area, unlocking a new map, finding a new boss or mini boss. Everything in that game is satisfying and meaningful. Even if you've never played a Soulsborne game before, I think it's worth giving it a try just to kind of see what it's doing and try to see if you can get lost in that world for a little while. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a great rest of 2022.
Casey here from Thirsty Mage as well, and I've played a whole bunch of really great games this year. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I got one Final Fantasy VI. I know, shame that it's taken this long, but I played that earlier this year for the first time all the way through. Amazing game. So good. I need to go back and play some Chrono Trigger to restoke that debate and see which way I lean. But I gotta go with Xenoblade 3. Super awesome game, really like the story. But actually, if I'm gonna have to give a game of the year, it'd actually go to Persona 5 Royal, which I just finally picked up. I played a little bit of the original, never got through it because of some other stuff. So now I've been playing this the last couple weeks, and woo! Just unbelievable. Yeah, I didn't think a game would be able to surmount Xenoblade 3, but Persona 5 did. So that's the one I'm going with, game of the year. Now, let's kick it over to Paige.
Hi, I'm Paige from the Thirsty Mage podcast. I also write reviews for RPG site and I have my own YouTube channel, PG Guy, which I'll get back to eventually. So my picks for this year, number one, definitely Live Alive. This is the model kit for Steel Titan. It's a game I didn't actually hear about until it was first revealed at the Nintendo Direct, which isn't surprising because it's a Super Famicom game that never got translated until this HD 2D remake. I really love the battle system. It's not quite active time, but it sort of felt like it. And really, I just like how you're playing all these different character stories, and some are really short or very long, and the objectives are different. It was interesting to see the inspiration for Octopath Traveler, especially being that it's a better game than that. It did let me down a little bit at the end because I felt like the story didn't come quite together, but like I said in my review, some of the characters don't even talk, so But for the vast majority of my playthrough, I just was in love with the game the whole time, and it is visually stunning. And David's setting me up because he asked me to ask him what Square Enix game he picked, and I'm the one who picked one, and I know he didn't, so on to you.
And I'll finish off our list with a game I never thought would be this good, but I just can't get it out of my brain, and that's Monarch. The Persona-inspired tactical turn-based RPG from Furyu came out earlier this year and absolutely blew me away with its addictive combat mechanics. Battle and Monarch are tactics-based, sort of similar to the system you'd see in a Trails game. This is a battle system with a ton of customization that can lead to some seriously insane builds. The only limitation on combat is your imagination. And finally, there's no way we can end the Thirsty Mage segment without mentioning a game from the Legends of Heroes franchise. The other best game of the year for me is Trails from Zero. Now officially localized in English, Lloyd Bannings and the rest of the SSS get to save Crossbell on Steam, Nintendo Switch, and PlayStation. That also happens just to be the recommended platform order as well, as Steam and Switch have a more remastered version of the game, while the PlayStation version uses an old build from the PS4 era. Those are the favorite games of the folks here over at the Thirsty Mage. If you're looking for an RPG podcast to listen to your commute to work, or maybe to fill in the void while you're doing some chores at home, head on over to thethirstymage.com to get our website and to get our podcast link, or you can also just search us on any podcast app that you listen to your podcasts on.
Thanks, everyone. Next, we have Best Localization. The nominees are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, Soul Hackers 2, Triangle Strategy, I the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, and Live Alive. And the joint winner for Best Localization is, by a margin of 2 votes, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero. Chandler Lee had this to say about Trails from Zero. Just the biggest shout out to the Geofront team. In case people don't know, Trails from Zero was actually worked on by both NIS and Geofront. Basically, NIS used Geofront's localization as the basis for the new script. It wasn't a simple copy and paste, of course, no. But the fact of the matter is that Geofront's script had been approved by Falcom when they were going over the script, and that is a huge, huge praise for what that fan translation team actually does. And kudos to Durante's PH3 team to actually work with the Geofront team to incorporate a lot of the little nuances, like the different treasure chest messages that are scattered throughout the game. It's just an absolute amazing collaboration between these 3 teams, and I can't wait for Azure. Next, we have Best Story. The nominees are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, Triangle Strategy, God of War Ragnarok, I the Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative, and Elden Ring. And the community winner for Best Story is Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Nybeer had this to say for Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I loved the entire main cast. The fact that you get them early and watch them grow throughout the long time it takes to beat the game really is the best aspect of Xenoblade Chronicles 3's narrative. And my winner for Best Story is Triangle Strategy. I don't want to take away from any of the nominations in this category. I think all of them are deserving of praise because it's been such an amazing year for JRPGs. But for me, given how I don't consider myself as a tactical RPG fan, or at least not a long-time tactical RPG fan, the amount of options and the story and how it branches and affects everything is really unique in Triangle Strategy, to the point that it made a somewhat political story actually have a lot of gravity. Sure, people are going to be easy to credit other types of media that inspires Triangle Strategy, but that's a lot to copy, and I don't think you can outright just lift one story and just drop it in another and expect it to work. And I do think that's the best thing about Team Asano, is that they're really good at creating these stories that really involve you, regardless of the inspiration. And with its multiple endings, Triangle Strategy is literally one of those games where I keep hearing people say, I'm in my 2nd, I'm in my 3rd playthrough, and I can't stop playing. that's how involved triangle strategy can make people, and I'm just happy that it got released this year. My next guest is Rhetzelle, and I stumbled upon his channel a few months ago, and I really admired the enthusiasm and the knowledge that he has of JRPGs. So if you haven't heard of him, here he is, in his first time at the BBAs. Take it away, Rhetzelle.
Hi, it's me, Rhetzelle. 2022 is a great year where JRPGs are starting to bloom once again, with new announcements and releases back to back, and there's a lot of good titles you might want to try in each different console. My first game is Eiyuden Chronicle Rising. It's the prequel to the upcoming Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, which is a spiritual successor of the Suikoden series. The game is very simple and easy to understand, perfect for those RPG virgins who would like to try out a Metroidvania genre. Set in a village called New Nevea, you take the role of CJ, a young girl coming from a family of longline scavengers, and the other two playable characters are Isha, who is a temporary village mayor, and Garu, which is a kangaroo mercenary. The game starts a little bit slow with all the dialogues, but it will eventually pick up after a few hours of progress. The battles during exploration are fast-paced, and the three playable heroes each have their own playstyle that you can switch, making link attack combos, and as you level up, you'll gain new abilities which are essential in traversing the environment. A huge aspect of Rising is its town building feature, which lets you help various villagers set up their shops to attract people to the settlement, making it more prosperous. There are main and side quests for you to complete as usual. Collect and gather resources which are tedious. You can upgrade equipments in the village and attach elemental runes for strategizing with monsters' weaknesses. What I love about it the most is the gorgeous 2.5D graphics, and the environment really feels alive and pleasing to the eyes. Although it's far from perfect, it's a great introduction to the Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes, and it's a casual JRPG for you to sit in and play just to chill and relax. As a big fan of the Atelier series, I'm happy to put this game here. Atelier Sophie 2: The Alchemist of the Mysterious Dream is a charming sequel to one of the most loved Atelier girl in the series, which is Sophie. It's a brand new journey as Sophie follows her path to become a full-fledged alchemist, but upon going near a mysterious tree, Sophie and Plakta suddenly got sucked in and got teleported to another dimension, which is a typical isekai plot if you watch animes. In this parallel world, Sophie meets a younger version of Plakta and make new friends as she continue what she do best, which is alchemy. While the core gameplay remains unchanged, there are some few refinements in alchemizing with a quick access to recipes, co-alchemize items with your party, and it became much simpler to understand to create most potent gear and items. Like any other atelier, you're free to collect and gather resources in the open areas, which has a vibrant and colorful aesthetic, and you can change the weather as you like. The battle system shares similarities to Atelier Lady and Sewell, which is more fast-paced and lets you put characters in front and rear to strategize in battle. Overall, Atelier Sophie 2 is lighthearted, and Sophie's mood is so infectious it'll make your day better. With amazing soundtracks, outstanding colorful visuals, and a set of likable, handsome, and gorgeous characters, I'm sure you'll find something to love in this game. I grew up loving to play the Valkyrie Profile series, so as soon as I heard a new one this year, I saved up some money to buy it. Although the game took a risk on making it completely different from its predecessors and the new action hack and slash combat, and seeing how many fans of the series have been mixed thought about it, I feel like this game deserves some recognition. Valkyrie Elysium follows a woman called Nora in the world based in Norse mythology, and you'll meet familiar names like Odin, who rules over the world. In battle, the Inheriors act like typical RPG party members. Nora can summon two at a time to fight alongside her. Each Inheriors has a specific element that can strike enemy weaknesses like lightning or ice, so you'll have to strategize about which two to bring out at once depending on the enemies you're facing. As for the gameplay mechanics, you can directly attack with one-handed sword across wide spaces using light and heavy strikes. This allows for combos which can throw enemies across the battlefield. As you progress, you'll obtain various arsenals of weapons by completing main missions and side quests. Overall, despite being made with a lower budget by Soleil, this game still delivers something great. The story is good with some issues with the cutscenes, the soundtrack is very nostalgic, the world and the medieval setting looks wonderful, and the game's action battle is very enjoyable. That's the 3 games I've really enjoyed playing this year. And again, I'm Rhetzelle. You can follow me on my YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Twitter. Thank you, Alex, for having me in this collaboration.
Thanks, Rhetzelle. Our next category is Sleeper Hit of the Year. The nominees are I, the Somnium Files, Nirvana Initiative, Live Alive, Voice of Cards, The Beasts of Burden, The Dio Field Chronicle, Harvestella, and Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy Origin. And the community winner for Sleeper Hit of the Year is, with a margin of 2 votes, I, the Somnium Files, Nirvana Initiative. This is what Jacob had to say for I, the Somnium Files, Nirvana Initiative. This series still deserves way more attention than it gets. And my winner for Sleeper Hit of the Year is Harvestella. I've already said this in my review before, but Harvestella is not a farming game with action gameplay. It is literally an action game with farming gameplay. It's the other way around. And it's because of that the game is actually structured to have this really deep and very emotionally driven narrative that you just don't see in games of the reverse type. And it makes for such an impactful experience once you play through it all the way to the end. Next, we have Best Traditional Turn-Based RPG. The nominees are The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero, Soul Hackers 2, Live Alive, Atelier Sophie 2, Pokemon Legends Arceus, and Voice of Cards, The Forsaken Maiden. And the joint winner for Best Traditional Turn-Based RPG is The Legend of Heroes, Trails from Zero. Simon had this to say about Trails from Zero. This is a game that starts off as a fairly typical cop mystery, but spirals into so much more. It also has the conclusion to, in my opinion, the best Sky subplot, and is just really fun to play. Our next category is Best Tactical RPG. The nominees are Triangle Strategy, The Dio Field Chronicle, Tactics Ogre Reborn, Digimon Survive, Symphony of War, and Mario & Rabbids Sparks of Hope. And the joint winner for Best Tactical RPG is Triangle Strategy. For the Quinn had this to say about Triangle Strategy. I don't even like tactical RPGs, but I love this game. And quite honestly, I'm in the same boat. So many people who never played tactical RPGs got into it because of Triangle Strategy. And I actually can't wait to see if they make a sequel to this game, because there's a lot of really, really good elements here that can be iterated upon and make a lot deeper without having to make it feel too trudgy or overly incomprehensible. Until then, we have a second or third playthrough that we have to play. Next, we have Best RPG with Real-Time Combat. The nominees are Elden Ring, Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Star Ocean: The Divine Force, Stranger of Paradise: Final Fantasy Origin, Fire Emblem Warriors: Three Hopes, and Valkyrie Elysium. And the community winner for Best RPG with Real-Time Combat is Elden Ring. Clementine had this to say about Elden Ring. The combat of this game is simply superb and shows the dedication of the developers. Beating the bosses feels so satisfying and gratifying that I simply find myself coming back again and again for punishment. And my winner for Best RPG with Real-Time Combat is Fire Emblem Warriors: Three Hopes. This is an unorthodox choice, but Three Hopes truly captured the spirit of Three Houses in its many ways. It's not a 100% representation of that game, but it's not a turn-based tactical RPG, and it didn't even have the same protagonist. It's a delicate balance to be attached to something pre-existing, and at the same time carve your own path forward, and I admire the spirit and bravery that this game demonstrated. Best of all, it's just a ton of fun to play, whether alone or with a friend. And last but certainly not least, my next guest is Mr. Midas. Mr. Midas is one of those people that I consider very charming, very intelligible, and a genuinely enthusiastic fan of JRPGs, which is really surprising because he didn't play a lot of them this year. but I did hear that he was going to be playing a certain something over the Christmas break, so we're going to see how that pans out. Take it away, Mr. Midas.
What's going on, people? I go by the name of Mr. Midas. Now, you could have been anywhere in the world right now, but you are with us and we appreciate that. Now, firstly, huge thank you to Alex. Yes, it is Christmas time. It's the end of the year, which means it's all about the Backlog Battle Awards. So let's talk about some games. Now, I am the JRPG specialist, but I got a confession. I weren't banging no RPGs this year. Yes, I spent so much time playing Persona 5 Royal on my Switch, but that doesn't count. I platinumed that game ages ago, and I'm not a Souls guy.
Foul tarnished.
But the 3 games that really stood out to me are God of War. God of War is incredible. How has a game been this good? We're talking the combat is fluid, strong. Kratos feels incredible. I can't believe that it is one continuous cutscene. Like, how do Santa Monica do it? And the story is so gripping. And I even like, boy, yes, Kratos has grown up and he's not annoying anymore. Like, this is one of my favorite games, easily my game of the year. The next game is Horizon Forbidden West. Now, Horizon dropped at the beginning of the year, and Zero Dawn I thought was a really cool game, but I felt like Breath of the Wild basically destroyed the game, and it just felt really clunky and not open enough for me. But Forbidden West has really learned that. Aloy feels so much more agile, the way she can climb, most things, and the game just had so much dope representation. Being able to see all of these black NPCs just interacting with her, super cool, and the combat is way much better, especially the melee. And for her to go under the sea, my G's, this is definitely one up my roster. The last game for me was Sifu. I know, don't attack me. I know I told you I don't like hard games, but Sifu, it just had something special. It proper reminded me of the old school Kung Fu movies that I used to watch with my dad. And Sifu just had a really cool thing when it came to, even though I got defeated, I was getting older and older, and I was able to unlock different move sets, and if I unlocked enough of them, I could use them back at the beginning. The art style is beautiful, incredible, and I'm new to PC gaming, and the mods blew my mind. Like, the John Wick mod is probably my favorite, and I really love the Chun-Li one as well. Super cool. So yeah, it's been a good year for games. Like I said, I'm a big RPG guy, and I didn't really spend no time. I didn't play Xenoblades. Don't worry, that is going to be my Christmas game. I'm going to be playing that over Christmas. And if that beats these 3, Alex, I'll be hitting you up and telling you to change my list. I've been Mr. Midas. You can check me out at Mr. Midas Games on social media, and I run a YouTube, and I have a podcast called Too Many Games. So come and check me out if you ever want to talk gaming. Alex, I appreciate you. We out. Peace.
Thanks, Mr. Midas. Next, we have the most anticipated game of 2023. The nominees are Aiden Chronicle 100 Heroes, Final Fantasy 16, Atelier Ryza 3, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth, Octopath Traveler 2, and Trails to Azure. And our joint winner for most anticipated game of 2023 is Final Fantasy 16. Final Fantasy 16 is probably one of my most anticipated games of 2023, easily the fact that Final Fantasy XIV's Yoshi P is the executive producer, the fact that the guy who's directing this also directed both Last Remnant and Heavensward, which is a great expansion to Final Fantasy XIV, and the combat director for Devil May Cry 5 is working on this, plus the music of Masayoshi Soken from Final Fantasy XIV, and that's just an amalgamation of so many good things at once that I simply cannot wait to play this game. Because unlike all the other previous attempts at a pseudo-action / turn-based / whatever kind of Final Fantasy, they are going full in on action. But it's also going to be approachable for those people who aren't used to those kind of action gameplay, and I'm really eager to see how they accomplish that. And finally, the nominees for Game of the Year are Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Elden Ring, Triangle Strategy, God of War Ragnarok, The Legend of Heroes Trails from Zero, and The Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative. And my winner for Game of the Year is Triangle Strategy. I'm going to be honest, this was a tough one, and I literally was choosing between this game and one other game. Triangle Strategy is one of those games that really got me hook, line, and sinker. And considering that there were times where other games I would kind of hop out and hop back in and, have that sort of lag in between times when I want to play it and not, Triangle Strategy really got me hooked from beginning to end. I mean, this had intrigue, politics, for crying out loud, politics. I didn't even expect to like a game with that this year. And of course, it's fantastic, tuned, tactical RPG gameplay that allows for a lot of experimentation and allows people to really dig deep into its systems to try to make it harder or easier for them, depending on what they want. And not to knock on other tactical RPGs this year because they are just so massive and they're just so awesome. I think Triangle Strategy helps move the genre forward alongside with its other peers in a very different way. And that's why Triangle Strategy is my 2022 Game of the Year. And the community winner for Game of the Year, winning by a mere 3 votes, which is the closest in awards history, is Elden Ring. Clementine had this to say about Elden Ring. This game held the gaming community in its tarnished grip for half a year. I say it's earned its Game of the Year status. Congratulations to all the winners of this year's Backlog Battle Awards. The BBAs are a truly special celebration of games unlike any other, and next year promises to be yet another incredible year in games. As promised though, I want to deliver to you a special video package that showcases all the wonderful games that came out in 2022. This has been an annual tradition here on the BBAs, and it's not changing anytime soon. So here it is, the 2022 Good Times video, showcasing all the games from 2022. Happy New Year, and enjoy the video.
I'm on my own, broken alone. I feel the rain crashing down all around this empty town. I'm searching for the lost and found, but you don't care, you're unaware. Keep moving like the scars aren't even there. It's in the air like a blazing flare. Just stare 'cause the flames will burn us. I thought you were the one for me. That's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas. Oh, you meant the world to me. I used to kiss your head when you cried for me. Hold your hand while the pain was over. Keep you warm by the roaring sea. You meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. My darling dear, you're never here. When I'm in pain, you hide and disappear. Like shadows in The atmosphere charting the stratosphere. I prayed for you and kept you near in hopes you'd chase away my fears. I'm on my own, you made it so, and now I'm chasing nightmares. I used to run with you through the great big leaves, laugh at you when you laugh at me. Hope for us because I believe the home was just you and me. I thought you were the one for me, that's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me. Oh you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I thought you were the one for me, that's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me. Oh you meant the world to me. Oh, you meant the world to me. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. Oh, I'm gonna do this on my own. No point in blaming you, you did not know. I thought you were the one for me, that's why I gave you everything. Held you close by the stormy seas, oh you meant the world to me.